Wilt Chamberlain picked up the ball with Casey still attached, and he picked it up with his arms extended, brought it to his chest, and threw a two-handed chest pass with Casey still on the ball. That's how strong he was.
Feels like Wilt Chamberlain, we look at it and go, you know, he played in a different league. But I think we view it as, you know, that Wilt Chamberlain guy, he scored 100 in a game, like he was an alien.
If you have one player in NBA history that you could start a team around, who would it be?
I don't need questions like that. It would be Wilt Chamberlain.
Why?
Because he's the greatest big man in the history of the game.
But we don't acknowledge, when the topic comes up, greatest players of all time, Wilt Chamberlain's name never comes up.
I think when you can see the similarities and you understand, this is one way you can judge the two. How much impact did each change or evolve the game? First of all, you're never going to say who's the greatest of all time. To me, I think that's more for PR and more for selling stories and getting hype. Jack and Tiger never played against each other. They never played in the same tournament. They never played with the same equipment. They never played with the same, length of golf course. I never played against Wilt Chamberlain. And I'll say that, one's greater than the other. It's being a little bit unfair.
Everybody always points to Michael and making all these changes or things, but Wilt Chamberlain was the first one that really made changes. He was the first dominant person of basketball.
Basketball season, averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds. 50 points and 25 rebounds. Was a 7-footer who literally should have his own record book. This is why a 6'3" guard like Russell Westbrook is being compared to him for triple doubles. A 6'5" guard like James Harden is being compared to him for the way he scores. And a 7-foot player like Jokic is being compared to him for having triple doubles because he's the unstoppable force. People act like Dirk invented that. Wilt was doing that then. Finger rolls, dunks.
One of the most dominant forces we ever had in our game, along with Shaq. Scores, rebounds, ever. People have never seen someone like that in that era.
Play against some of these centers today, it would be pretty embarrassing for them, to be candid with you.
Who do you think is the greatest of all time?
Wilt Chamberlain.
You think Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest of all time?
People saw Michael Jordan dominate people with the fadeaway jumper, unstoppable shot. Wilt Chamberlain invented the fadeaway.
To say who is the greatest, we will never know that. I mean, in my eye, Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest basketball.
Shooting in his 6th or 7th year in the league, and became an assist guy and whatnot. So, and he didn't play. He only played 13 years, and he played part of 1 year of that. So he played like 12 and a half years, let's say. And he was the all-time leading scorer before everybody else started. He still has 72 records on the books. He's got 68 records by himself. So he's tied with 4 people on another average. I mean, and this has been, 40-some years ago. Just numbers in itself tell 50 points a game, average 20-some rebounds a game. He averaged almost 48 minutes a game. I mean, when you
led the league in assists once, which is unheard of as a center.
Exactly. Whatever they said he couldn't do, he did. And that was always good.
Photographer off his stool, I picked up the stool, and I reached back to hit Wilt. And by that time, the whole bench on both teams had emptied, and Russell was in front of Wilt. Wilt was looking over his shoulders, pointing at me and saying, Sam Jones, I'm going to make you eat the stool. And I was saying, Wilt Chamberlain, I'm going to crack your kneecaps. Well, anyway, that got over. The next night we played in Philadelphia. And so Wilt Chamberlain told me, he said, don't come into the paint tonight. And, you know, being a smart aleck, I said, well, I'm going to come in there. The first time I got the ball, I went in for a layup. He did not try to block the ball at all. He blocked my body. He put me flat on my back, and I remember him coming and getting close to me and saying, the next time you come in here, I'll knock you flat on your butt again, as he was picking me up. And I says, I won't be back. And that whole night, I did not come back into the paint.
Well, you know, as formidable as Shaq was physically, just stalwart, 300 pounds of steel and agility and athleticism, Wilt was all of that.
Who's the most dominant player ever? I want him to say my name. I don't want him to be like, maybe Wilt, maybe Shaq. That don't fly with me. I want him to say Shaq.
Does that really bother you?
Yeah, it does. Because that was my niche. I wasn't going for the greatest player niche. I wasn't going for, you know, the best. I wasn't going for that, because those words are, you know, those words are just thrown out. You know, words like most dominant, you got to earn that. So, Wilt averaged 50 in one season. He did. He averaged 50 in one season. So, I'm mad because I wanted to pass him up in points. Now, if I would have passed him up, I would have arrogantly said Shaquille O'Neal was the most dominant player ever. Don't ever ask me the question again. Yeah, I got more rings than him, but he got more 50-point games, he got more rebounds, and he has more points.
If he was facing me and other guys of my time, not so good. I mean, I'm a guy bench pressing around 600 pounds when I was at my best.
600 pounds?
Yeah, right.
People said that he was selfish. So you know what he did? Went back and led the league in assists.
He led the league in assists one year. Actually, they played in a triangle offense.
A center led the league in assists?
Yeah, 1967. Wow. 68. I think it was 8.5 was the leading number. Shaquille didn't have quite the same athleticism that Wilt had. He had the bounce and he had the speed, but he didn't have the endurance that obviously by the 48 minutes a night that we talked about. He had a jump hook, whereas Wilt didn't have a jump hook. He had an array of shots. He had a hook, he had a finger roll, he had a turnaround jump shot. And Shaq was a post sprint.
Debate, as far as I was concerned. I mean, we've had great players as far as, with Michael and of course LeBron. Everybody, Michael set a tone for the guys from the 80s up.
I know that basketball is a team game. Right. And you've already made Michael number one. Mm-hmm. But if you had to have Wilt against Michael, my prime and his prime, how much money would you be willing to bet? Wow.
Close or not even close?
Oh, everybody's close, but Wilt just did things. I mean, you talk in terms of he used to dunk, from the free throw line.
Championships, but I'm with Shaq. You go with winners because Bill Russell won so much, but when you start saying which would you start a team with, it's hard to go against the Big Dipper. Yeah, it's hard to go against him.
As far as basketball skills are concerned, there's never been anybody to accomplish what Wilt Chamberlain has accomplished, and he was an incredible human being, an incredible physical specimen, and a great athlete. And I don't think anybody will come along who will be able to match the records that Wilt has accomplished. He just never had the personnel like Bill Russell had to go along with him.
If Wilt had the good fortune of having as many great teammates as Bill Russell had, I think that his record of championships would have been phenomenal.
Keep in mind that in his NBA career, Bill Russell has 0 individual all-time records. Michael Jordan has 3 all-time NBA records. Wilt Chamberlain has 56 all-time.
Michael Jordan. I'm curious, Michael Jordan, say we had a time machine. What if we could send Michael Jordan back to playing basketball with you in your prime?
When you see Michael Jordan, I'm a product of modern basketball, modern technology.
With all the technology we have today, they didn't have the ankles, the MRI, all the stuff we have now, they didn't have back then.
But all the great achievements comes from Oscar Robertson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, all the basketball players way before Michael Jordan. I just got the fruit of the labor, I guess. I learned so much from these guys watching them, and I've kind of gained more of the publicity and more of the notoriety because of me learning from what they have done years way before me.
A few months ago, they said, Michael, now don't be, shy and don't be this and don't be that. Are you the best basketball player to ever play? And Michael said, yes.
We're at the NBA's all-time team celebration, Cleveland, 1997.
When they announced the top 50 players, right? Which you were on that list, right, when they announced them. I heard when they were bringing everybody up, at the end of the row
is Wilt and Michael Jordan. And they're sitting at a table arguing vociferously as to who the greatest player of all time was. And they're back and forth. And just intense as could be.
Jordan and Wilt were debating on who's the greatest. And Stern had to say, come on up here. We're going really at it. And one saying, I am. The other one saying, I am. They're going, but you couldn't do this. In my era, I did this. And I was doing this. And I changed again with this.
It bothers you when people talk about him as being the greatest player of all time?
Well, it bothers me because we all have our opinions.
I contend Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player who ever lived. I would put you number 2, only because you only won 2 championships. Now, people are going to say, well, you know what, he had a lot of stats and this and that. You won 2 world championships, okay?
I have a friend of mine who I talk to about once a week. You know what he says about Michael's 4 championships? He doesn't say anything about it.
Why?
Because he has 11.
Bill Russell.
I don't think, you can predicate how great a guy really is or because he has championships. There's a lot of guys on those championship teams who've done nothing.
I won 6 championships. Bill Russell won 11. Does that make Bill Russell better than me and make me better than him? No, because we play at different eras. So when you try to equate who's the greatest of all time, it's an unfair parallel. It's an unfair choice.
Michael Jordan is one of those rare specimens that could have played at any particular time and is a gifted athlete who is using those gifts in basketball incredibly so. I think that almost every man in the NBA should give him 10% of their checks.
Now, what would his playing style, how would that have translated back then?
Well, his playing style is he's 6'7" and he's like 197 pounds. Coming into what we call our domain, the pivot for us big guys, would not have been very wise.
I'll tell you a great Magic story. I'm a coach at UCLA, and he used to come to the men's gym and organize games.
I remember
and
there were a lot of pickup games back then.
all the time, and he used to make the sides and stack them. So one night I'm watching, and Kevin O'Connor are in the stands. Wilt Chamberlain's playing with 4 of my freshmen against Magic, Bernard King, James Worthy, Byron Scott, and Green.
AC Green.
AC Green.
Huh?
And it's game point. Magic throws a sky hook. Wilt blocks it. Magic calls game. And Wilt says, that wasn't goaltending. That was a clean block. And Magic took the ball. He said, game over, next. And Wilt said, hey, coach, was that goaltending? And I said, no, that was a clean block. Magic says, what do you think he's going to say? They're his kids. And Wilt says, all right, look, we're going to play a game till 12. We'll do it again. Winner stays, and there'll be no more shots made at this basket. He blocked every shot. 43 years old. He was blocking everything. It was unbelievable.
To Bill Russell in the winning. The man averaged, I don't care what era, he averaged 50 and 25. Correct. He's got to be on Mount Rushmore.
He didn't win enough, but he was going against the Celtics every single year.
And you can't even argue by the numbers. Wilt Chamberlain, the most dominant player ever in this game.
Died today at his Bel Air home of an apparent heart attack. The Big Dipper was 63 years old.
I'm unspeakably injured by what happened the last few days. This was an integral part of my life and a good friend.
Wilt and I were not rivals. I tell people that, and they say, what are you talking about? We were competitors. You see, in a rivalry, there's a victor and a vanquished. He was never vanquished. And so we were competitors.